Okay, so what I'm doing is recapping the class that we had earlier today. These are the shapes, and this is the shading shapes exercise. There are a couple things, like we talked about, that you're going to have to learn some terms. And those terms are actually listed on the LMS announcement that has this, and they will also be in the content section. So the first things that I'm going to do is I'm going to establish a light source. So for here, I'm going to put the light source here. For this one, I'm going to put the light source here. And for this one, I'm going to put the light source here. What the light source is what direction the light is coming from. So if you're shading, this is super, super important. There are a couple of other things that we have to do. So first thing that I'm going to do, so I'm going to start with my cone. Remember, my light source is here, so that my darker area will be over here. And this is going to be quick because it's about, like, I believe it's a 15-minute time limit. So I don't want to get too, that they'll actually let me post the video. So I don't want to get too in depth. Like I said, there's a lot of time for questions and doing, a lot of you were there for the demo in class. So, but we had all that trouble. So, yep, what I'm doing is I'm going to start this way. And again, my light source is coming from here, so it's going in like this. So this area obviously is not going to be darkly shaded. Okay, so right now the only technique I'm using is just like the pencil technique. A lead pencil isn't very good for this because it takes longer. If you press too hard with a lead pencil, it snaps really easily. But what I want to make sure I do is that this area right here, which is the darkest area, is going to be the farthest from the light source. And I also want to make sure as I'm doing this that I give my lines a little bit of curve, because remember, the cone is spherical, so it's not a flat surface, therefore my lines should have a little bit of curve. Okay, so what I've done basically is I've established where I'm going with this. I'm going to do a quick smudge with my finger to just show you the smudging technique, and then I'm going to use my eraser. Whenever you use the smudging technique, you always want to clean it up afterwards, okay? You don't want to just leave it and hope for the best. It makes the drawing look very, very messy. Make sure you always tidy it up with the eraser. So light source is coming in from here. On my paper, it looks a lot darker, but obviously because of the bright light from the dock camera, it's going to look a little bit lighter to you. So I'm just going to really dig in my dark area. Okay, so now that that's done, what I want you to show is this area. We've got right here, which is our core shadow. Okay, this area is our highlight. It's the area where the most light hits. Obviously, we have our light source. Right here is your mid-tone. So mid-tone, think about like medium, all right? It's not really dark, it's not really light, it's the medium level of shading. And then there's a couple more things. Whenever a light source hits, there's always an area of reflected light or refractory light. So that is going to be right here. And it's not big, okay? It's very, very tiny, very small. So if you look, bring this up a little closer. It's obviously shiny, but you can see that one area right here is called the reflected highlight. And then the last thing is the cast shadow. And that's because if light is coming like this, it's going to cast a shadow. So that would be right here. And right where the core shadow is, that is where the cast shadow will be darkest. Okay, you can even make this cast shadow look a little conical so that it matches the cone. Okay, my light source is coming here. This is where my cast shadow is. Okay, second one, how to do a sphere. All right, so I've got my light source coming here already. Light always travels in straight lines, so I like to do this just to give me an idea. So that means my light source is going to be pretty big. I'm going to cross hatch this sphere like I did in class. So what I do is I start with basic lines, and again, this is the farthest spot right here, so it's going to be the darkest. I'm just going to use these lines, and I want to use circular lines, right? I want to curve these lines. I don't want them to be absolutely straight, they'll look really weird if they're straight. You want to try to like create the shape that you have here. Okay, again, looks a little messy because hatching usually does. This is going to be my darkest area. Then I'm going to use the cross hatching method, right? So as always, just a little bit messy. Cross hatching usually is, but that's okay. I've got all of my main areas in. And I want to make sure that this area, well, it still has some dark to it, maintains that bright, bright highlight. Remember, no light, no darkness is really touching there. Okay. So, let's look again. Just like the cone up there at the top, I've got my mid-tone, I've got my core shadow, I've got my highlight. I'm going to do my reflected shadow or my reflected highlight right there. And then what I do is draw in a more circular cast shadow. And then make sure that this area, which is touching, is much darker. All right, so again, same basic thing. Now the last area that we're going to look at here, and I'm going to move this up so you can see it, is a cube. And, well, in this case, it's a rectangular prism. But, again, light sources coming in. Now this is a little bit different. These are straight lines. Light over here is a bit different. Light never bends, but shadow can kind of cover it. So because this is hitting directly on, my light source is in front, this is going to be pretty light compared to the other areas. So I can shade it in just a little bit. I'm using scumbling right now to shade. So I'm trying to use a different method for each shape. Okay, so just a little bit over here, tiniest bit, again, just around the edges. This area obviously is not going to be affected by any light or any shadow. It is like dead on. So, but this area is, because of the sharp bend, right? Squares are right angles, like the edge would be a right angle. It's not like the sphere or the cone where it just kind of gently bends. This is very, very sharp, so it means no light would hit this area. This is going to be my darkest area. Okay, and again, still using that scumbling method. Just building up that dark by layering. Sorry, I've got something under the page and it's giving me these weird little bumps while I'm trying to draw. So, if you are not working with a soft lead pencil, you want to layer, right? You put down one and then you just keep drawing over top of it and over top of it, and it creates darker darks. If you have a soft lead pencil, and by that I mean the number on a pencil, so this is a number 2 pencil. The softest lead is a number 8 pencil. So the number indicates how soft the lead is. 2 is standard, so your normal pencil is a 2. Which means it can smudge, but it purposely doesn't. Okay, so here's a dark area, and then over here we're also going to have a dark area, but it's not going to be as dark. Remember, because this area, this is going to be more of our mid-tone. Not because, like, this area is spectacularly light, but just because the light is hitting it in a way that would be just a little bit lighter. And then I'm going to go back here, and this is going to be the darker area. Okay, my reflected highlight right here. There it is. And then my shadow. Okay, so there you go. Easy peasy, not too difficult. That is pretty much how to shade shapes. That is the assignment that we were doing today. You can label them or you don't have to. Please, when you're done this, submit it into our assignment Dropbox. And I will see you guys tomorrow.